Hey everyone, okay, so today I'm going to be doing another sort of more personal story. After I filmed the video, a personal story, it seemed to resonate really well with a lot of you, and that really made me happy because a lot of you shared very, very similar experiences to me growing up. And I was speaking about this the other day, and I have a story to tell, but there are certain things in my life and certain elements of my past that I don't want to talk about because it would hurt other people. And that is really not in my psyche to want to cause anybody else any pain. But one day, a lot of the story that I have will be shared, and I'm looking forward to sharing it. But doing it right now would cause me a lot of pain because it would cause me to have an incredible backlash from people in my life. And that's not really what I want. So what I want to kind of do is go into a bit more depth about part of my story, and then we'll try and catch up with today in future videos if that's okay. And again, if you don't want to listen, that's fine. So I lived in Somerset for my entire life, and I left Somerset when I was 19 years old, and I moved up to South Wales to be with my partner. And I had £200 to my name, exactly, that was it. And I moved up to be with my partner, and it was a glorious time. And I had just finished all my exams as well, so I was fully qualified to go and talk about exercise and nutrition and all that kind of stuff. And so I came up to Wales, and my partner had incurred an incredible amount of debt, and it was it wouldn't have altered my feelings at the time. I would have come regardless, but it was a lot of debt. So what happened was I took a job at his business, and for the first 2+ years, all my wages went to pay off some of this debt, and we paid off a very huge chunk of it. And then we kind of consolidated it after that kind of 2-year period. And after that, I received 50% of my wages, 50% I gave over, and 50% I kept myself. And we bought a PlayStation. And that might sound really bizarre, but it was the most beautiful thing because we had no extra money. So we bought this PlayStation, and that was our entertainment, and we used to play that all night long. And it was the most glorious time. We had no money. We had this little black pot on the side of our, in the sitting room. And it was filled with the money that we had for the week. Well, it was for the month, but it was split into weeks. And it was the most joyous time. There was no money, there was nothing apart from TV, ourselves, and the PlayStation. And when I look back at it, it was truly the happiest time of my life because you had everything that you could possibly need. You had food, we had shelter, and we had each other, and that was enough. And when I look back at it now, it was an amazingly glorious time. And what I kind of want to do is share parts of my life with you, but also kind of build up to where we are today as well. Now, I stayed in that job for a long, long time, but during that process, I talked about that I started to develop acne very early on, and it was very, very devastating to me. Even after the acne had gone, and I was in my very early 20s, I still cowered away from mirrors. 6 months afterwards, I was still washing my face without the light on. It left a really big impact on my life, and that was where I kind of remembered my love for makeup. But we didn't have any money, so what I would do is go and buy makeup from the kind of, the shops that were selling it off at like £1 each and things like that, and just all horrible shades. But it was glorious because I had this, I could start to practice, I could start to implement, and I was reading all these books, these wonderful books by Kevin O'Quart and Wade Bandy, and none of them really had any really good photos or there was no YouTube back then, but it was glorious because I was absorbing everything that I was learning. And I can remember the first high-end foundation. It was a foundation, a concealer, and a brush, and my friend bought me it. And it was from Bobbi Brown, and I remember having this and just thinking to myself that I was over the moon. I was so happy. It was the most heavenly thing that anyone had done for me, and there it was, and it was this concealer and this foundation and this blusher brush, and I just couldn't believe the generosity of it. And it was just when I look back at all these kind of little memories and how things have happened, it just fills me with so much joy. My friend bought me these. His name was Len Smart. He is still my friend today. And it was just this incredible experience. And I don't have those products anymore, but I wish I did, because they would still fill me with joy even now when I think about them. So I would love to have them as a kind of reminder. I left my partner's business, and then, or the business he was working with, and then went, and I was starting to do more makeup work on the side, but it wasn't like loads of it because I didn't really have any good experience, but I was really, really refining my skill as best I could. And I was practicing on people I could get my hands on, and most of them were over 40, which was a really good thing. And I then went to do another job, and I didn't want to go into sports and nutrition and exercise because it just bored me. So I took another job and I worked for the BBC, and during this period of time I was really, really working on the makeup, and things were really building up, and I started really, really slowly. And what I did, and I'm going to kind of end this now and we'll talk about things another time, but I wanted to go into the bridal aspect of it because I knew that bridal paid really well. So what I did was I looked around the areas that I lived, and looked into the areas where there was more money, more affluence, and started to position myself in those areas, going into bridal shops, leaving my cards, and getting really familiar and friendly with those people in the areas that I was based. And what I would do is I would do sort of 10 jobs, but on the 11th job I would do it for free, and I would go into the shops and the bridal boutiques and everything else and ask who were the nicest customer they had that week or that month, one that really stood out, and then I would offer my services to that client for free, because nice is a really good thing to be in life. You can be somebody who is nice will go farther than somebody who's really talented if they're not great with it. You have to be a nice person. And I used to do 10 jobs and then I would do one for free because that seemed like a really nice thing to do. And it was about positioning yourself. When people ask, well, how do you make money in makeup? For me, it was thinking outside of the box, because I'd built up so much practice that it was time to put it into place. But I also knew that I needed to make a living as well. So I couldn't make a living charging 10, 20 pounds doing makeup. So I needed to make a living, and I knew that there was money available in the world. I just didn't quite know how to get it. So I looked into the areas around me where there was money, the areas where the really nice houses were, where the weddings where they were spending tens of thousands of pounds. And I looked into those areas and started to place myself and my services around that time. And you'll be surprised that if you're a good person, if you're a nice person, just ask. You know, when people say, well, how do I start to become a makeup artist? Well, it depends on what you want. If you want to be a makeup artist that deals with print, then just go to a photographer and say you'll do everything for free in exchange for photos to build up a portfolio. All I wanted to do was apply makeup. I didn't want to do stuff for magazines. I didn't want to do stuff for film or TV because I'd done TV and it is so boring. So I wanted to just put makeup on people, but I wanted to make a living of it, and that's how I did it. And around you right now, chances are there are areas around you where there is more money than others. And by positioning yourself in certain locations, you can start to capitalize on that. But then you have to give back as well, because it's great to make, but then you have to give back as well. So you're giving back as well as taking, if that makes sense, which is why I would offer my services for free for the people who were the loveliest, for the ones that were recommended by just being an absolute joy to be around. And there you go. I kind of have shared a little bit more. It feels nice to talk about private things, about the past and things like that. And maybe in another video I'll talk to you about how I really kind of got everything off the ground and moving. Because when things started moving for me, it was really the time that YouTube started. The two coincided with each other, and that's when things really started to take off. But we'll talk about that in another video. If there's something you'd like me to talk about, then let me know in the comment section. Something that you maybe need help with or that you want some advice in, then let me know in the comment section because I like to read it. Thank you so much, and I'll see you all soon. Bye-bye.